why I feel in the face of all the problems in the world impotent, and why I somehow cannot manage to transform I. Now here we get to the real problem, because we're always telling each other that we should be different. Now I'm not going to tell you that tonight. Why not? Because I know you can't. Nor can I. That may sound depressing, but I'll tell you it isn't. It's very hard. But everybody, you see, who is at all sensitive and awake to their own problems and human problems is trying to change himself. We know we can't change the world unless we change ourselves. So when we are aware of the ego I, we are aware of this chronic tension inside ourselves. And that's not us. It's a futile.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to today's live stream. We've got some important information on Bitcoin to talk about today. First and foremost, let me get this recording. Okay. So, as predicted, Bitcoin has done really nothing but go sideways. Sure, we're getting no new lower lows, and I suppose that does inspire some confidence in the bulls. I think it's important to note that a lot of alts are red today, which typically is a precursor before a Bitcoin dump, but that's, in my opinion, a pretty weak signal. I wouldn't actually bet on shorts just from this alone, because we do have some conflicting information on, say, the weekly chart that we do need to check up on. Okay. Wow, weekly candle closed, and now we have a nice little red top there. So, because we're getting that cute little red top, really just predicting more sideways trading, at least for the week, is reasonable. And again, and as per the title of this video, here's what we really need to expect for Bitcoin, okay? Bitcoin is going to do the squish. Alright? Which means price will not get above the 50 moving average, and it will not go below the 200 moving average. So very reasonably we can predict Bitcoin is going to stay below this line and above this line. Right? It's going to get sandwiched in between these two institutional benchmarks. Now, if we were to say take a look at the previous crash pattern, and why not? Let's get that loaded up. We want to take a look at the full history of Bitcoin. Nice. And now I can just zoom back and show you what I mean is happening here. Okay? So, and it looks like this squish was a little tighter than this squish. And honestly, I may have averaged out that slope a little bit too far. Let's draw this a little bit more direct, okay? So the 50 MA would come on down, more like that from the looks of it. And the weekly 200, well, that one's a little bit more predictable. It's going to come in through there. Okay. So, okay, so it looks like we're probably going to run up, touch this candle, or touch that 50 moving average, and come down, close the candle in red, I would say, for another little bump upwards, a secondary test, right? Because there's two candle closes on that weekly 50 there, 1 and 2, so that does imply a potential repeated rejection. And betting the same thing on Bitcoin now, well, that would be pretty reasonable in my opinion. Then we will have a period of trading directly on top of the weekly 200. Right, like our two initial tests, like here and here, they were pretty reactive springs, and If you're familiar with Wyckoff accumulation, that's typically a symptom of initial market bottoms followed by a higher high, right? In both scenarios. So we want to retest that weekly 50 and come down and enter a very tight period of compression, right? This here could be considered the creek, if you're familiar with Wyckoff terminology, where we have the trickle down before retest of previous values. And if you want, you can actually predict that there's going to be a spring as well. Right there, where we actually go below the weekly 200 to provide liquidity for larger players before they force the price back up. Right, don't use a predictable stop loss here. Make sure you're being very generous, and you can even place buys below the weekly 200 as well for your safest position. Okay. Then, we just need that to play out sideways. We're going to trade directly on top of it for a while. And really, if you want to be safe and you don't want to buy Bitcoin, and you're biding your time, really, if you just want to buy the moment we go above the weekly 50 moving average, that's your golden buy signal. That's your golden goose, if you will. Because if we actually do break up above that value, well, that enables us to enter a next bull run, right? Like, look at this. If you just buy when we're above the weekly 50, which happened right here, right there, we never retest those previous values ever again. Okay, just let that sink in. If you want to buy into the next bull run, just buy above the weekly 50. It's going to be the strongest bull run signal that I can possibly give. Right? It's a freebie. If we go above that, we're golden. It's very exciting. It's actually kind of see how the mass readings play out as well. If you notice on the 3-day PM here, this location right here is where we have a few candle closes where the volatility overhead starts cooling off and it turns to these cooler colors, if you will. And if we look at the previous crash pattern where we have, watch this, this is amazing, where you have the generation of mass that runs on through here, and the generation of mass that runs on through here, right? Because force was applied, we got overexpanded distributions, and then we have this cascade period of compression that follows, right? This is nothing but healthy compression. There's technically no downward expansion on here in the macro time frames. Actually, this right here, this little plume counted as downward expansion, but it was kind of expected with the way it happened, because you actually have the same little dot of red forming beneath here as well. Wow, that's really cool. So you have the downward expansion in both instances here, where that little tiny plume of mass works its way underneath the longer initial crash pattern's plume of mass. That's really cool. And then after that happens, well, then you get the actual true period of compression, where all these soft blues radiate upward for months on end and restore the market to a state of potential energy. That's what this is here. And we've actually just finally entered the market bottom stage of compression, because we had that initial secondary downward expansion, and now we're getting that nice soft radiating blue factor that's going to fill in this section here. And as that fills up, that restores the market to really a full state of potential energy, and that will allow for significant new upward expansion and new upward trending, right? Because if we actually look at the BLX chart, you can just identify, what did I do? It's the wrong button. Go away. Shoo. Okay. Right, so you can actually look at these cycles where you have a period of expansion and period of compression. Then you have a period of expansion all throughout here. And then, guess what this is? This bad boy right here. We have just entered the period of compression. It's huge. We're in the macro level period of compression now. So we're going to settle down into this range. We're going to compress, we're going to compress, we're going to compress. We might get some new higher highs, and then it's Free Willy from that point on. It's just going to fly. Like, new all-time highs is around mid-2020, I would say. Late 2020 for sure. Right? Because the market is just cycles. And if you have a heat map indicator that can actually visualize those market cycles for you, that's a pretty powerful tool, if you ask me. All right, we actually have a full visualization of the market cycles here, where you have states of trend, and then not trend, and then trend, and then not trend. All right, because whenever we have these compressing mass periods, that's really just translates to consolidation. Price volatility reduces, volume reduces, and once we get into that cute, tight little range, that is the golden ticket. Okay? If you want to be a long-term investor in Bitcoin, when I say now, I mean like in the next 6 months, not like now. I don't think now is a good time to buy, right? Because we're on this huge candle here. But once we actually see the creek and the retracements and reduced price volatility all in here, right? When we smack above that weekly 50, that's the home run. That's when it starts flying. Not like that. Yeah, like this. Done, break above the weekly 50, testing higher high, and then run. Okay, that looks good to me. I'm pretty happy with it, but just be ready for a long year of doing nothing. Okay? Not really doing nothing, but know how to trade the range. Know what pivots are going to be respected. Just get ready to short on that weekly 50 because it's going to be really clean. All right, trading with you folks. Thank you very much. Enjoy the sun. Okay. Yeah, you guys are pretty nice. Jay Constant says probably the opposite happens. I want to know what you think the opposite is. And my phone is charging, so I can't use it to look at the comments for you. We're gonna go to this. Any live stream questions? Whew. A new script from a cat with charts. I'll have to check it out. Were there really no altcoin questions? Does nobody want me to look at a chart? I think this was the most simplistic and basic Bitcoin overview I've done in a while, and that's good, because it's newbie friendly what I went over just there. It was definitely a boiled down version of my outlook, but it's clean enough. Really, this red alt market does have me a little concerned. There's a lot of red today. Oh my god. It might be indicative of a further dumpage here. And I'm actually going to show you something really cool that I went over with my student yesterday. And it actually has to do with compressing volatility overhead. It's really cool. I'm going to give this away because you guys probably won't understand it. But if you do, it's great. Please continue using the indicators. They're really powerful. So, if we have a wave PM value, like let's just look at the blue line, the 100 period. Okay, there's something you can do. If you touch a red value, you can reasonably predict that it will touch a blue value before retouching the red value. And I'm going to denoise this just a touch. Okay, and we're just going to look at the 200 and the 100. Okay, so if the 100 period touches a red value, we would expect it to hit a blue value before it goes back up and hits a red value. Okay, so we would expect this to happen, a cycle, instead of this, where it starts coming down and then starts to re-expand, right? This is not a typical scenario. Why? Because it would require an unrealistic amount of force in order to stop this truck from rolling down a hill, and with your Herculean strength, push it up the hill again, even though momentum's against you, right? So that's why training compression is so effective, because you have force on your side. So every time we hit a red value, you'll notice, boop, 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 on both the 200 and the 100 periods, like so. You see that? Look how clean that is. And we're going to scroll back a little bit more, just to prove my point. Where we have compression here, compression here, compression here. This one, that's pretty funny. It dipped straight down to that value before it started re-expanding. It's kind of cool. I haven't seen a single instance where this fails. Every period, every time, it follows a very distinct period of consolidation. All right. Here as well. Here as well. Here. 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 Cool. So these are really tight market cycles, and honestly, if I could just bet on these signals right here, okay, if I could just go in a casino and make this bet, I bet that because the blue is above 100, it's going to go, I'm sorry, I believe that because the blue is above 0.9, I will bet X amount of money that it will touch 0.7 before it touches 0.9 again. All right, I would make that bet, and I would be very rich, because this is so ridiculously consistent. It's not even funny. And guess what? There's all tradable price action in this information here. Okay? If I'm going to hide price action. Ah, price action's hit. Cool. So I can actually look at the quad CCI and make predictions on direction just from this. And I'm getting super laggy here, but this is a good lesson for you folks. Okay, so now we're just going to use the 100 line for the sake of simplicity. Okay, so right here we can bet long until the mean. Right here we can bet long, and I'm going to draw these on the chart so I can just drag them over. So long, long. Here it's from the top, so we're going to do a quick little short. Here it's from the bottom, so we're going to do long. Here it's from the top, so we're going to do short. This is from the top, so this is short. And this is from the top, so... No, this is from the bottom, so this is long. Okay. Oops, there we go. And we're just going to look at price action and see how this actually worked. Okay, so we had, ready for this? Come on. Could I really not drag these arrows? Oh my god. Oh, it's locked. How did that happen? There we go. What? Do I have to unlock all these? Okay. That's weird. Probably have to adjust my drawing tool after this. And you'll notice that price does actually end up going sideways in a lot of these examples. Well, that's because mean reversions are typically small trickles towards where they're going, then jumps like I've drawn here. But that's just the scale. This here is an example where it just absolutely, just completely went sideways instead, and that's fine, because you don't lose money on that, do you? Like, your losing scenario is you lose no money, and your winning scenario is you make money. It's just so clean. And then it looks like this one, wow, this one actually, yeah, where it trended sideways and then failed. You would have stopped out of that one. But I hope this is informative, right? The amount of information just on these three indicators here, I could trade without price action if I wanted to. Okay, I'm going to check the comments one time, and then I'm going to go hiking. So let's see how you folks are doing. Let's see what you want from me. Okay, Ethereum, Nano, and PivX. I am not expecting new lows. I'm just expecting a retest of the weekly 200. 3,000 is out of the question now. Unless it's a wick, right, for that liquidity hunt. So I'm going to say it one more time. We're going to do Nano, QSP, and PivX. Yep, okay. Okay, now F, Nano, QSP. Refresh my chart template real quick. I'm gonna get a quick sip of coffee. Hold on. I just have cold brew in my fridge, so it won't take long. Okay, we did it. I'm back. FUSD, right? FUSD is pretty much going to look the exact same as the FPT chart. Actually, no, Ethereum is pretty bullish on the macro, to be honest. Like, really, right now, it's so powerful. So we actually have like completely compressed wave PM periods, and now this is new expansion. Like, this is technically, wow, that's 25%, guys. Do you realize the scale of this? Like, just that is a huge move. And like, when you compare it to previous all-time highs, this is looking like a really good investment. And yes, I did say investment because I don't want to trade this chart because I don't like it. But I think we're getting close to a really good time to buy because we have new net expansion. Like, we're just about to see the 14-period CCI roll down, so that's going to be a short consolidation period. But really, this is just going to be about figuring out how deep Ethereum is going to dip. So, I hate to zoom in on this because the macro is just so pretty, but I'm probably going to expect value going up. I don't know how high, I'll be honest. Then we'll retrace. So, then nice retracement value hits there, and then we're going to need to figure out if we go up or down, yeah? That's my thoughts there. Okay. PivX, I said? Yeah. QSP. Yeah, I'm kind of apprehensive about QSP because the parabola's obviously been broken, right? And so now we're seeing a period of compression and mean reversion. So we can probably identify that pivot best on the daily. Right? And we want to look at 55. Okay. Yeah, so I guess on the macro perspective, we've already entered the mean reversion pivot, and we'll see retracement from here. I believe the trend is over on QSP for now. All these coins are just in really tight accumulation ranges. My general recommendation is wait until you actually see positively weighted mean period volatility, and then and probability volatility for that matter, and you'll be able to actually catch some pretty strong entries into the new uptrends. Like, sure, you're going to miss out on maybe 30% on the initial bump upward, But, you know, if you're expecting trend to previous highs, well, you're not going to care too much about that 30% after a while. Okay, folks, this has been a pleasure. I'll talk to you all later. Tomorrow, same time, 1 p.m. Have a beautiful day, folks.